you're kidding me. I said, no, I've taken many steps of faith, but I've never taken a risk.
Follow the compass home. Let the truth lead the way. You don't have to rush your knowing. It's been with you every day.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Inner Compass podcast. I'm your host, Bruce Barnes, and my guest today is Ron Smith, who is a corporate social responsibility expert here. So encouraging companies and individuals to be in service to their communities, which is a wonderful thing to be focused and promoting, and we need more of that. So just wondering what just for sharing your experience with listening to or ignoring your inner compass. This is share a little bit of your story and what moment made you realize that service and kindness were your path.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Bruce. It's a pleasure to be with you today. And I just want to be an encouragement to folks to listen to their inner voice. And it's amazing when you hear it. I was raised with the mantra of others before self. And I'm breaking 5 generations of teachers going back both directions in my family on my mom's side and dad's side as an only child. And the number of times that I saw my mother, she taught first grade for 37 years. Before she would start grading her papers in the afternoon after school, if she had a child in her classroom that couldn't see the chalkboard, she would take the time to call all 8 optometrists in our city, and she would just wait until somebody would donate the glasses. And so she would call all 8 to see who would step up and do it. My father coached junior high basketball, and if there was a kid on the team that couldn't afford the shoes, he'd go talk to the manager of both sporting goods stores in town and say, okay, I got a kid that wants to play, but he doesn't have shoes. Who's going to donate them? And so that's the mantra I was raised with. And through the opportunity to serve in my community, I had the opportunity to be a part of a nonprofit organization called Neighborhood Bridges. And that allowed me to bring my mantra that I was raised with to life. The purpose behind Neighborhood Bridges is to help children, family, and students in need. And I've been fortunate enough to be a business owner for the last 37 years. And 9 years ago, we had a situation where a fire broke out in one of our local 4-unit apartment buildings. They're just single bedroom apartments. And the fire broke out at 5:30. And at 6:30 in the morning, I got a phone call from my mayor. And he said, you know what? I think this is what you do, right? You help people? I said, yeah, that's what I do. He goes, well, you might want to get over here and help out. I said, all right. So I got the call at 6:30 and I was on the scene by 7. And one of the 4 people that were impacted by the fire was John, and he's an electrical contractor. And he said, you know what? Normally I keep my tools in my pickup truck, but last night I brought them into my apartment and now they're ash. And as a contractor, I can't go to work unless I have tools. And it dawned on me, I had spoken to Trish, our local hardware store owner, at a couple of chamber meetings. And I thought, you know what, maybe I can call Trish and maybe she can help. And so I got Trish on the phone and I said, I'm sitting with John. And I shared with her a little bit about the purpose of our nonprofit. And I said, without tools, he can't go to work. And she said simply this. She said, you know what? We normally open at 10. Why don't you come over at 9:30? Do up a list of every tool that he lost. I'll replace it at no charge.
Wow.
She replaced $450 worth of tools without a single question being asked.
That's awesome.
When April stepped into the ambulance, she said she was a nurse and she lost 8 pairs of scrubs, 2 pairs of nurse's shoes. That's close to $1,000 worth of clothing that she uses to go to work. And without it, she can't go back to work at the hospital. Well, it dawned on me. A couple of weeks earlier, I'd gone shopping with one of my four daughters who's going to become a medical assistant to buy her scrubs. And
Mm.
shopping and I just don't know. But my daughter wanted me to go with her, so I did. But I made a big fool of myself in the scrub store because I asked the manager, Susan, I said, "You've got maroon, black, and blue. Don't you have like fluorescent yellow or fluorescent orange or something kind of different color?" And she's like, "No, sir, this is all we have." Well, I don't know if Susan might remember me, but I'm going to play a hunch. So I called up Imlay Uniforms and I asked to speak to Susan, the manager, and I said, "I don't know if you remember me or not, but I was the dad yeah, I remember you." I said, "Well, I'm sitting with April. Let me explain to you what I do." And so I explained to her April's situation. And you know what she said, Bruce? She said, "You know what? We normally open up at noon. We're open noon to 5 daily. Why don't you bring April over here about 11:30? She can take whatever she wants off the shelf to be able to go back to work." It was at that moment, and it's called a Kairos moment. It was at that moment that I discovered that the relationships that I have built in my lifetime, through business or otherwise, I can actually use to help people in need. And the power of what relationships can do to make a difference and make an impact in my community. Many people experience Kairos moments in their life. I've experienced six. But it was that Kairos moment that put me on the track that I am today to make a difference through helping people in need through the relationships that I've built in my life.
So that was your inner compass light bulb moment there. The first
Yep.
of that. So is that's wonderful and stuff. Yeah, because it is uh, really about building true relationships and collaborating with each other to help others out and when they're in need. And that's so I love that. And so is there um have you experienced any time where maybe that inner voice, the compass was trying to tell you to do something and you ignored it?
There have been a couple of occasions to that end, yes.
Yeah. So was it something then that you uh, kind of refined how your focus on paying attention to that whisper?
Well, that whisper was a message that said, take what you're doing and you've done successfully, but broaden its impact.
Yeah.
And what I said back was, I'm pretty comfortable being able to do what I'm doing right now. I don't know if I can take any more on, but I'm pretty comfortable with it. But another situation occurred that pointed to me that said, you know what? You do need to do more.
Mhm.
And I finally decided to pay attention to that and pursue it. And that's where the Bridge to Kindness was actually born.
Mm.
So Neighborhood Bridges, that I'm currently serving with is a volunteer position, and I serve as the area director, which is fancy words for just saying I connect people with those that have with those that need,
Yeah.
and that's what an area director does. But the Bridge to Kindness actually takes it to another level and brings a community together. And so the Bridge to Kindness is made up of five pillars. It gives communities the opportunity to have neighborhood bridges within their community, within their schools, to help family, children, and students in need. It provides a support group for nonprofits and their executive directors to have a place that they can come to get support. Because nonprofit directors are on an island. They often feel like they're all alone.
Mhm.
And what happens is they can't talk to anybody about what's going on within their organization. So they internalize, suppress, burn out, and the nonprofit goes away and doesn't have impact. So forming a support group for the nonprofit directors is important. We also put on workshops with the local Better Business Bureau to introduce businesses to nonprofits. It's amazing how a business, through what's called corporate social responsibility, can help a nonprofit. So there's an outdoor outfitter that gets sleeping bags from Coleman, REI, Yeti. When they're done with the demo bags up on the shelf, they've been pitching them in the dumpster in the back.
Mm.
We teamed them up with a nonprofit that does sleeping bags for the homeless.
Yeah,
Why can't the two of them work together?
yeah,
And then we
absolutely.
have community events where people, we have community events where people can come in and actually find out where they can volunteer and be active in their community. So it's really bringing the community together to work together to help one another. And that's what the Bridge to Kindness is all about. And my mission is to bring communities together on how we can work together to help each other.
That's great. Yeah, so I know that's one of the things that I've been hearing about in, well, all over the country, and that about like different restaurants or bakeries that they have at the end of the day, they have that extra food that they either would typically throw out. Well, now they're making it available to the homeless or the different food shelters and that. So it's just a way of taking what would normally be discarded and actually benefiting those in need. And that, so yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah. So um, so is the Bridge to Kindness, is that a like a national or global?
We have been able to grow it from being in 9 communities, excuse me, starting in one community here in my hometown. We've now grown it to be in 68 communities across 4 states, and we've impacted over 634,000 people in 9 years.
That's amazing. Yes. All from listening to your inner compass and helping helping you to identify what your greater purpose was. Yeah,
That's
and it's
exactly
just
right.
what you mentioned earlier about your daughter wanting you to go with her to pick out her scrubs and that, and you normally wouldn't have done that. Well, there you were listening to your inner compass to say, okay, well, yeah, I'll do it. And that proved to be a a beneficial connection for the nurse that lost all of her scrubs. So it's like whatever that little nudge is that we get occasionally, which is we need to pay attention to it and follow through because it may not be something that's going to benefit you directly, but it may be something that you can help others and that. So I love that. Yeah. So um, now I do have a few questions that I always ask my guests regarding the inner compass. So just wondering, when you notice your inner compass speaking to you, what does it usually feel like or sound like to you? How do you know that your inner compass is speaking to you?
It usually comes to me either through music or through conversation with others. Those are the two confirmations that I know that when I have those combined, um, it usually is an affirmation that I need to be paying attention to what's going on around me.
So when you say music is like is some particular song that comes up that confirms you need to do something or
Yes. There are certain times that if I listen to the radio and I hear certain songs, they will refer me back to a very specific time in my life and
Mhm.
the song that made the most impact on me at the time to continue pursuing my inner compass. And so I can name a song and give you the date and time that it was released based on the timeline it was in my life and the impact it had on me at that time.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. So now, next question is, how do you personally distinguish between fear, logic, and intuition when it's coming up and you know some decision or whatever it says, and you have those different feelings, and that says, how do you distinguish which one is speaking to you and which one to pay attention to?
Well, share with me the list of three again.
Fear, logic, and intuition.
All right. Well, fear, I know that I can say it is not real. Fear is something that is planted to make you not take a step. And I tend to ignore fear. I had a gentleman, this was back 1999, 2000. I had attended an event, and at that point, I was only a business owner for about 12 years. And a gentleman came up to me and he said, what type of traits would you look for in a business partner? And so I raveled off several things, good communicator, good organization skills, good interpersonal relationships. I raveled off a whole bunch of stuff. And he said, you never said that he was a risk taker,
Hmm.
working out of fear, taking a risk. And I said, well, I've never taken a step of risk. He goes, you're kidding me. I said, no, I've taken many steps of faith, but I've never taken a risk. And he goes, well, what's the difference? And I said, well, the difference is I know that I can confirm through other sources that the step of faith I'm about to take is the right one and follow my intuition. And it makes logic sense versus stepping in fear. So when I can confirm that my intuition is right through relationships and through prayer and through other methods, I know my intuition is right and it's a logical step. And so that's why I've never taken a risk and I've never stepped out in fear because the other two are more secure in helping me take my next step.
Yeah, this is it. They're trying to keep you in your comfort zone and
Correct.
not move forward. And that's yeah, that's great. So my third question is really for a future guest. What question would you want a future guest on my podcast to answer regarding the inner compass?
Have you ever really sat back and taken a look at the 22 gifts? There's a list of 22 gifts. Have you ever sat back and taken a look at those 22 gifts and identified which gifts you've been blessed to have received and moments in your life when you use those gifts and listened to what your inner voice is telling you to do to use those gifts to help others? Usually, when you take the survey, the gift assessment of those 22, usually have a strong two, another three, and then the rest just fall off. Usually you have five, but there's a strong two, weak three, and then the rest fall off. Challenge yourself to take a look at what those gifts are that you've received and listen to your inner compass on how you can use those to make an impact and make a difference in other people's lives. If you don't do that, it, have you ever had one of those gifts that you get on Christmas morning and you unwrap it and it sits on the mantle of the fireplace for an entire year? And then when you go to set up the Christmas tree next year, that gift is still sitting there and hasn't moved and it has dust on it. If you don't take advantage of listening to your inner voice and your inner compass on what you can do, there is good as gifts sitting under the tree that you opened that you never did anything with. I'm just challenging you. Have you ever really thought about what your gifts are and the relationships you have and how you can use those to make a difference?
That's a great question. Yeah, it's actually even more so. This is that you get this, awesome gift and you never unwrap it. So you don't have any idea that it's gold inside that gift to that. So that's great. So I know one of you've got a gift for our listeners, and just want to let everybody know that it will be all of Ron's information, and that will be linked here with the podcast, as well as on my website, the innercompasspodcast.com, and that, so everything will be linked there, and that to access his information and gift and that. So why don't you please share what it is that you're offering?
Well, I was told that the number of stories that I have of how this has made an impact on me were many, and you really need to put it into a book. So I did. And it is not a memoir. It is not a memoir. It is a challenge. And the book is called Kairos Gratitude. And I would like to make a complimentary copy available to anybody listening to the podcast. If you cover shipping, I'll get you the book. And you can order one of those right through the link that Bruce is going to provide to you because I want to hear your story. And the very last part of the book, it actually gives you the chance to take that assessment and find out what gifts you have sitting under the tree. But more importantly, it is to share with you an example of how relationships can make an impact. And so it's a challenge for you to take a look at that and to find your inner compass yourself and the direction that you can go. And so I want to make that available to people to be able to discover that inner compass and find out how they can make an impact. And so I'd like to make that available to your listeners today.
That's fantastic. Thank you. It says, yeah, it's uh, it, wonderful that you even have that assessment in there so that they can identify what their gifts are, and that's absolutely fantastic. And
And the
that's
reason why it's called Kairos gratitude is because Kairos are the moments in your life where you hear that inner voice, and gratitude is for the people that were in your life at that time that brought you through that and through those times to listen to that inner voice. And so that's why it's called Kairos gratitude.
that's great. Yes. So great. Well, it's been a great discussion here and that, and appreciate you being here and sharing your experiences, and want to invite all the listeners to check out his information, and please continue, you know, coming back for more episodes, and we'll be here, and look forward to the next time. So please take care, and until next time, that's it. We'll see you then. Bye.
Trust